How are you enjoying this new age of hope and change, change and hope? The winds of change chill my bones. The sun shines on the devotees of change, but I'm standing in the rain. One of us must be insane. Hope and change, change and hope. See, I don't want change. Not change wrought by politicians. Beware of politicians bearing gifts. And I don't have any hope. For I have been to the top of the mountain, and I have seen the promised land. But the promised land won't be as promised. It won't be a land of full employment dripping with milk and honey. The promised land created by politicians will be dripping with bureaucracy and funny money. You see, John Maynard Keynes, yes, that John Maynard Keynes, who said in the long run we're all dead, the flamboyant homosexual who devised the economic schemes so beloved by politicians, justifying their megalomaniacal compulsion to profligately spend other people's money, the John Maynard Keynes who fabricated the framework for the failed New Deal policies of FDR, which, contrary to popular mythology, promulgated by the liberal elite, did not save us from the Great Depression, but perpetuated it. Yes, the same Keynesian policies which produced the disastrous stagflation of the 1970s, the John Maynard Keynes who thought the government should borrow money to pay men to dig holes and pay other men to fill them up again. Yes, that John Maynard Keynes said, quote, "The surest way to destroy the basis of existing society is through debasement of the currency. And the process is accomplished in a manner that not one man in 100 can understand." But John Maynard Keynes did understand, because he himself was the architect of these same policies which inevitably produced the very result of which he warned: the debasement of the currency and consequent destruction of the social order. When Barack Ahmadinejad Hussein Osama Obama was campaigning, he criticized George Bush for running up budget deficits. But now that the age of hope and change is here, Obama and the Democratic Party, in a self-serving orgy of spending, piously embrace these John Maynard Keynes deficit spending policies in the name of quote-unquote economic stimulus, preaching compassion, a fig leaf to cover their naked lust for power. When politicians use the word compassion, I hide my wallet, because they know the time-tested formula for political victory: spend like a drunken sailor. No, it's an insult to a drunken sailor to say he's spending like Congress. The inevitable result of these tidal waves of government spending is ruination for our people and the gnashing of teeth as we, the United States of America, the lighthouse of freedom, the shining city on the hill, descend into economic hell. The lights go out, the shining city crumbles. I know, I'm pissing in the wind. I am a voice crying out alone in the wilderness. If you want hope, go listen to someone else. I don't offer hope, only truth. For the truth shall set you free. And the truth is, there is no hope. For I have been to the future, and it doesn't work. America, like other great civilizations before it, is going down. Don't you feel the void? The signs of social decay, sexual promiscuity, pornography, out-of-wedlock birth, broken families, abortion, hedonism, drug addiction, sexual perversion, depravity, courts torching what's left of our values by forcing homosexual marriage down our throats, and a generation of youth clueless as to their own heritage. But worse, average Americans now believe everyone has a right to health care. A right to health care? That puts health care up there with free speech, freedom of the press, freedom of religion, the right to bear arms and trial by jury, even as basic rights enshrined in the Constitution, and the most fundamental right, the right to be left alone, have been eroded over the decades by the ever-expanding power of the megastate. We, the people, have been persuaded that new rights have sneaked in the dead of night and been mysteriously bestowed upon us, such as the right to be fed, housed, clothed, and medicated by the government. Now, do you notice any difference between rights enumerated in the Bill of Rights and these new so-called rights? See, freedom of speech doesn't cost anything. But if I have a right to health care, that means I have a right to make you pay for my health care. Well, what about your rights? Don't you have a right to not pay for my health care? And yet, this pernicious notion that you have a right to use the power of the state to force other people to pay your living expenses has become so pervasive that it is destroying the individualistic traditions of liberty on which our nation was founded, traditions which made the United States the most successful and freest civilization in history. And that's why we are going down. Now, you may dismiss me as an apocalyptic prophet of doom like Cassandra, but remember, Cassandra was right. And if you don't believe me, maybe you'll believe this warning from the author of the Declaration of Independence, Thomas Jefferson. Quote, "To preserve the people's independence, we must not let our rulers load us with perpetual debt. If we run into such debts as that we must be taxed in our meat and in our drink, in our necessaries, in our comforts, in our labors, in our amusements, our people must come to labor 16 hours in the 24, give the earnings of 15 of these to the government. We have not time to think, no means of calling the mismanagers to account, and this is the tendency of all human governments, till the bulk of society is reduced to be mere automatons of misery, to have no sensibilities left but for sinning and suffering. Then begins indeed the war of all against all. And the forehorse of this frightful team is public debt. Taxation follows that, and in its train, wretchedness and oppression." That's Thomas Jefferson. So if you teach your children nothing else, teach them these words: we must not let our rulers load us with perpetual debt, which is what they are doing. But I am not issuing a call to arms. The revolution is not here, not yet. After the enemies of freedom destroy Rush Limbaugh with talent on loan from God, and shut down talk radio, and take over Fox News, they will bring on a new age of gentle totalitarianism, open modernistic new quote-unquote re-education camps, and the inmates of these re-education camps will be the purveyors of quote-unquote hate speech, i.e., those who dare to speak out in defiance against the age of hope and change, people like me. The Orwellian disbursement of information from a centralized source will ensure that the idea of liberty fades from our collective memory. But if you can hide away a few volumes of Thomas Jefferson, and maybe Milton Friedman, which may survive on some library shelf somewhere, maybe someday, when our civilization lies in ruins, some future young rebel will rediscover these ancient works, and the spark of liberty will be renewed, and the great American Revolution will be reborn. But till then, keep your head down, get right with Jesus, buy gold and guns, and get ready for the age of hope and change. For more brilliant commentaries, go to JimGreenfieldShow.com, serving all humanity, but mainly serving myself. This is Jim Greenfield.